This is Kits and Wagers. Happy holidays and welcome to Game Week 18 in the Premier League. We have a lot of bets for everyone. Specifically, we have, I guess, technically 8 bets, 7 or 8 bets for everyone. So, Chris, happy Friday, December 22nd. We got a busy slate of Premier League matches upcoming. You've already done some traveling. I'm about to do some traveling. Are you ready for the holiday season here?
Yeah, I am. We're back. Good week last week. We're not gonna we don't have to start the show off with how poor my bets were the previous week, so I'm happy about that. I have traveled back to the motherland here, the great state of Wisconsin. I have already sampled some beers, some local beers, so that's great. I'm in my my childhood bedroom, which is nice. I'm bringing it kind of full circle. The Stevie G posters are off the wall, unfortunately. No Zidane posters up on the wall right now, but I'm hoping to bring back some of that juju, and maybe bring it full circle with where I started to where I am now. And we got a little special treat here, if you will, at the end of the show too. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect. But I mean, you got some travel coming up too as well. It sounds like.
Yeah, just driving across the state of Michigan, driving across the Upper Peninsula, then driving into Wisconsin. Gonna be fun. This is the first Christmas with a child. She's about 6.5 months, so that just adds another wrinkle to all the festivities. It's gonna be loads of fun. There'll be plenty of sleep had, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure. And it sounds like we'll be in the same time zone, which is very rare. And not only that, but the same state. So
Happens maybe once a year, maybe
yeah,
once a year.
once per year. But
Yeah, as Chris to say, we do have the we're going to be doing our top 3 Christmas cookies at the end of the show. So obviously you got to stick around for the 30-40 minute show we have and then wait for the Christmas cookies. But Chris, I want to start this off with, so I do a betting article. It's up rotowire.com/soccer. Maybe one of the worst corner beats I've had on the season. So if you go to my article, rotowire.com/soccer, it's up there. I had a bet. I like Crystal Palace double chance, except that was, I think, minus 135, minus 140 or something yesterday against Brighton. So I was like, what else do I want to do with this bet? Looking back at it, I probably should have been like, okay, maybe Crystal Palace first goal or something like that. Instead, I just did something really easy. I did Brighton over 1.5 corners in the second half. Crystal Palace scored in like the 45th minute. So about the majority of the second half, Brighton were pushing. They were in the attacking third. They got one corner in the 51st minute. They did not get another corner the rest of the way, even though the Danny Welbeck goal came in, I think, the 80th minute or something. They couldn't get that second corner, which was, I don't know. As I said, I tweeted about it. I don't know, bad beat, bad bet, but either way, it still stings me, as you can see here. But
yeah,
we're moving on, I guess.
that's a tough one, but the right process, maybe the results.
That's what you get when you bet corners. Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah, that's a corner bet beat right there if I've ever heard of one.
Because of that, last week was corners and wagers, and I did okay on that. I think I went 2-1 in the game picks, and then I didn't hit in the parlay. But I have no corner bets here in the 3 games we're talking about. So we're talking about Tottenham, Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal, Wolverhampton, Chelsea. In this first game, we're talking about all 3 of these games are intriguing, and because we don't have Manchester City and Brentford playing, and we also have a Thursday and Friday game. So that kind of limited us to 7 games to talk about here, which kind of got a little difficult as we're looking to the parlay. So this first game we're talking about, but we still got some pretty good and interesting games to talk about. Tottenham are home against Everton. As you can see here, line movement hasn't been much, but Tottenham minus 125 to win, Everton plus 300. The draw is plus 320, and then you can get, I guess we're looking at over 3.5 goals is plus 135. Under 3.5 is minus 170. If you want over 2.5, that's minus 180. Under 2.5 is plus 145. So it seems like the odds makers are saying goals. So a couple main things here. Basuma is suspended. He's got a 4-game suspension, which starts this week. Udogie is also suspended, so probably Emerson's going to move into that left back role. And then we got Decore's out with a hamstring injury. Ashley Young's been out. Seamus Coleman probably out again. Michael Linko, maybe he might be back at left back because I think it was Ben Godfrey maybe started last league match, or on their Everton just played Tuesday in the EFL Cup. And then what else do we have? Nathan Patterson started at right back, but otherwise I think that's it. Brendan Johnson got hit in the head. He didn't suffer a concussion, so he's good to go. But this is an intriguing one, because I think if you look at the table, this is actually, if you remove the 10-point reduction from Everton, this is actually a top 10 tilt, I guess we could say.
Say that a couple times. Top 10 tilt. Top 10 tilt. Interesting that we've had a little line movement towards Tottenham here this past week or so. It was not enough to be like super notable, but the money is kind of heading towards them, I guess, a bit. But I mean, you look, which is interesting because yes, I believe they won last time out. But Everton has won 4 straight. They've kept 4 straight clean sheets, I believe. They've been really solid defensively. They're up there with one of the best away teams in the league so far this season too. They've actually taken a total of 16 points in 8 matches, 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. They've done it. They haven't done it by scoring goals, but they've done it by limiting their opponents here. That just 11 goals conceded while only scoring 12. So that's been an impressive stat for me, at least. Tottenham, as we know, the laundry list of injuries really. And now suspensions. Basuma going to miss a total of 7 matches at least on red card suspensions, which is kind of wild. Udogi's a big miss for them. He's been great this season too. So I think they're gonna. You said Emerson is coming out on the left or right for them, so that ought to be interesting. You look at. I think the Tottenham money line is minus 125. That's intriguing, like right off the top, but it's tough to ignore the way that Everton are playing. Of course they got the 10-point deduction and then just said, screw you, Premier League. We're just gonna go out there and ball. That's essentially what they've been doing. They've been shutting out teams. They've been scoring goals. It's like Sean Dyche has his best. So it's tough for me to lean towards Tottenham, despite they kind of are bouncing back now after that tough 5 games or so where they had lost Van de Ven, they had lost Madison, they had lost a bunch of other guys to major injuries. But because of that here, I think I'm on. I took Everton double chance, I believe, if that's correct. Hit the stat.
No,
there.
You didn't.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. All right. That's my Chris handshake, giving the wrong bet. That's my classic move. I actually took no on both teams to score. Defensive record of Everton has been too impressive. I mean, 4 straight shutouts. They have, like I said, been super strong, especially since the point deduction. For that reason, I think Everton can maybe at least keep a shutout here. It's not like And for, I did mention the fact that Everton maybe haven't scored them enough goals away. So I think this is going to be a low scoring affair, despite the way that Tottenham play, which is, they've been giving up goals, but I think, Everton's going to slow this game down. Tottenham might struggle to score. Everton, we know, is not like a offensive juggernaut either. So I'm kind of on that one. And then I did mention this obviously to start, but Everton double chance plus 100, good away team. When you look at the table, they're actually tied with Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City on 16 away points, which is just behind none other than Tottenham, who have taken 18 points away from home. So that's where I'm at on this match, Adam.
Yeah, I had to pull up. I was kind of surprised at that away record, but you pull out some of the results. Okay, they have losses against Aston Villa and Liverpool, but their wins. Okay, Brentford, who have dealt with a ton of issues this season, win against West Ham, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, and then a 2-2 draw at Sheffield United back in September. So I mean, you look at those, and it's like, okay, there's a reason why the results look like this. But of course, winning away from home is difficult no matter what sport you play, especially in the Premier League. We've seen plenty of times where, one of these random bottom 3 teams gets a win against whoever. So because of that, I think I'm kind of, swaying from taking either one of these sides. Everton playing probably better, maybe better, a little better. But they do have that Tuesday EFL Cup game. I think they had an own goal, was the first goal against Fulham. Then they eventually lost in PKs against Fulham. And then So you got that with them, but the one thing with Tottenham is, okay, you look at it, the last time they had a couple suspensions, some new suspensions, throwing Emerson in the back line, maybe Hoiberg. We'll see if Lo Celso, maybe he's going to start again. Last time that happened with everything, I think they had a pretty bad loss at Bournemouth or Wolverhampton, someone like that. So I'm kind of staying away from either team here. I'm just going under. I think we're kind of similar bets. I guess we're getting similar odds here. But I got under 2.5 goals at plus 145. You just throw in how well Everton have been playing defensively, and just Tottenham's attack has had some good moments without Madison. But I think when you look at it in total at large, a lot of those good results have been against some iffy competition. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I guess I'll take back that statement. They do have the 3 goals against Manchester City. They do have some higher scoring games, but I just think the way that Everton play, it's not going to open up for this game to be, extremely back and forth. At least that is my first assumption, because there's always random Everton Sean Dyche games that kind of open up a little more than you expect. But I feel like this is a type of game where you may get. There's been a few games this season when Tottenham get an early goal and then just play a bit too safe, and they're just passing the ball around a lot. And then maybe it's like, okay, Tottenham get a goal and then they struggle to get that equalizer kind of thing, because that would not be surprising. Also, removing Decore from the midfield, removing him from the attacking role, where he's one of those guys that has a nose for goal. He's always in the right place, right time kind of thing for his goals. You remove that. So I think that also doesn't help them either. So I just got under 2.5 goals plus 145. You got knowing both teams to score at plus 145. Are you leaning? I mean, you kind of mentioned maybe Everton here, but it doesn't matter for your bet. Are you leaning Tottenham or Everton here for the possible win, or maybe just a scoreless draw?
Scoreless draw would be well within what we're both kind of betting here.
Would be acceptable.
I just can't ignore how well Everton have played as of late. I mean, it feels like a bit of a mirage, but like you said, if they hadn't had the 10-point deduction, they're sitting in 10th right now, which is really good run of form since that all that went down. But along the same lines of this group think we got going on not a lot of goals. Tottenham under 1.5 goals is plus 120, which I like. Last year, we didn't mention this, but last year the results were 1-1 in this 1-1 at Goodison Park, and then Tottenham won 2-0 at Tottenham. So just both of those under 2.5. Yeah, I don't know what the double chances. I don't know if we're probably not getting good enough double chance odds to take it seriously. But yeah, I'm kind of on Everton, coming away with a point here at least.
Yeah, I feel like I should back up my statement of random Sean Dyche Everton game getting back and forth. Those seem to happen against weaker competition, not like top 10, top 6 side like Tottenham. The 3-2 game just comes to mind. 3-2 game against Crystal Palace, and then the Sheffield United game was 2-2. So I just wanted to back up my random statement of an up and down Everton game. So either way, we're both not thinking too many goals there. Next game, we got probably the biggest game of the weekend, arguably. I mean, we got 2 title contenders here, so you can't argue that. Liverpool, so they had, unfortunate, Chris, for many different reasons, but Manchester United, somehow they eked out a point in the last game. I can't remember what the XGs were, but it was like 30 shots to 2 shots.
Like
I don't know.
2.68, I think, to like 0.6 or something, like 0.7 was the XG.
Yeah, it was. I think I sent you a message. I had a bet for Liverpool minus 1.5 corners in the first half. I think it was 8 corners to 0 corners. So that was a great bet by me. I'll pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
But Liverpool, they played Wednesday actually, and they similarly just absolutely dominated West Ham. That was another game. I think West Ham had 2 shots and they scored from one of them. Jared Bones scored, but I think Liverpool was up there at 30 plus shots kind of a thing. But then you throw in Arsenal, who have controlled possession against Manchester City. They just kind of dominated Brighton in their last game. Liverpool plus 145 to win. Arsenal plus 180 to win. Again, the odds are kind of up and down, up and down. No real massive changes here in some time. The draw is plus 260. You got over 2.5 goals at minus 140. Under 2.5 goals Where I'm looking right now actually changed recently to plus 115. So I may have to look for a different number there. But so some of these big games for Arsenal against top sides have been lower scoring because they're just like dominating possession. How do you think this game's going to turn out? Because Liverpool, they like to get in these up and down games, but Arsenal, they're in such a trend of just dominating possession, and Arteta has this team just rolling in terms of we're not allowing the other team to really control the pace by any means. But this is at Anfield. How do you think that comes into play here?
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Arsenal. I mean, I'm expected to be around 50-50, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Arsenal control the game a little bit more. I think they're just like slightly better at that in the midfield, and I don't think I think we're going to be missing Alex McAllister for Liverpool. It'll be interesting to see. They'll probably trot out Endo and Soboslai, and then I mean Curtis Jones scored 2 against West Ham on Wednesday, so you kind of have to think that maybe that earned him a place in the starting 11. Otherwise, it's probably Gravenberch, and I think just because of that, like Liverpool's kind of they haven't been, it's not like Fabinho's in there, winning balls and moving the ball, right to left. I think Arsenal probably controls it a little bit more. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I looked at this, and this is kind of interesting. Arsenal won in the League Cup, I believe, in 2020. It was two pretty young sides. That was the last time Arsenal won at Anfield. But other than that, the last time Arsenal won at Anfield in the Premier League was 2012. So it's been a little over 10 years. It's tough for any team to win away in the Premier League, especially against top sides. So take that for what it is. I had a tough time taking any of the the money line bets or like overs or stuff like that. So I actually took a page out of the Adam Zdroik book and took a corners bet here. I actually I like Arsenal over 4.5 corners. Liverpool, I mean, both teams are pretty good at like not giving away a ton of corners, mostly because they play that possession based type of style. But Arsenal are like super good at I think they concede the least amount of corners in the league, while also they got to be ranking. They are the top team in terms of corners. They've won a total of 139 so far, which is 20 more than Liverpool's won, 21 more than Liverpool's won. So they 4.5 seems like a low team number. The opponent obviously plays a role, but I think that Arsenal can go find 5 corners in this matchup too. Couple other bets that are interesting, and I don't know what you went with here. You went with the under. Interesting. I just saw that as you brought the graphic up, but you gotta mention Mo Salah. I missed on this bet last week, but he's so good against top sides. In 15 games against Arsenal, he's got a total of 9 goals, which is pretty impressive. He's at minus 150 on the anytime goal scoring there. So, but to summarize, Arsenal over 4.5 corners. Are you okay with the corner bet? And you're taking a different bet, but I mean, is it a page out of your book? Too many pages?
I'm okay with it. I was just trying to look at. I know Liverpool have been awesome at home this season, and so I was looking at some of their opponents, and obviously they haven't played anyone like Arsenal, but Manchester United, Fulham, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Everton, West Ham, Aston Villa earlier in the season when they weren't playing as well as they are right now, and then Bournemouth. So you have all these results. I was just trying to look for something similar to how kind of the corner battle will turn out here. Though the Fulham game, actually Fulham had more corners than Liverpool in that one. So I found that one a little interesting. They've had these recent games where it's just like it's hard to compare. Like 80% possession, 10 plus corners against West Ham and Manchester United. Yeah, I think it's just however you think this game's going to turn out. If you think Arsenal, maybe Liverpool get an early goal and then Arsenal have to push a little kind of thing. Maybe Arsenal start the game with 60 whatever percent possession, and that leads to corners kind of thing. It's a tough one. I don't really have a full lean here in terms of corners, but as you said, under 2.5 goals at plus 120. I took who did I take? Who did Arsenal play recently that we talked about? I don't know. I took an under in a recent Arsenal game, I feel like. It couldn't have been Manchester City, was it? I think. Oh, it's Aston Villa. Okay,
Yeah,
I took
yeah.
I took unders in the Aston Villa games against Manchester City and Arsenal. And you just look at some of these Arsenal games against top sides, and I mean, we talked about that Arsenal Manchester City one. At least I think we did. Was it Manchester City? I
We
guess that
did
was
talk
back in.
about Arsenal, Man City. We talked about, or no, we talked about Aston Villa, Man City. I mean, we probably talked about Arsenal, Man City earlier
So
in the
many
season.
things happening. So many things happening.
Yeah, a
But
lot of games we talked about.
that one was back in October. Arsenal beat Manchester
So,
City. But when they play these other top teams, it almost seems like Arteta plays things just a little safer. Though it seems like in a lot of these games, it's just like, let's possess the ball, let's not make mistakes. It's kind of the Manchester City mentality, except Manchester City's been making a ton of mistakes defensively. Arsenal have been probably, I guess, arguably the best team in terms of when they don't have the ball. They've been great defensively, and that's why there's at least low scoring games. There's a lot of clean sheets for them, kind of a thing. So I think that's just going to come into play here. Under 2.5 goals is plus 120, where it's just another game where Arsenal want more possession, and when they're out of possession, Arteta is just going to be on his guys, just to get the ball back, just to pressure and get the ball back. And I mean, okay, we just saw that Manchester United game. Yeah, I think it's, I guess, a bad comparison because Manchester United really sat behind the ball and sat in the box a little bit. So maybe if Arsenal, maybe you get Liverpool on the counter, and maybe, that's probably when Darwin's at his best. Maybe that means goals, and we could be looking at a 2-2 result, which isn't surprising for any Liverpool game. But I think I'm just leaning a little bit more on just the way that Arsenal play these top teams a little more, that it's a little safer. So I'll go with it under 2.5 goals. What are you thinking for the goal result here?
you're expecting a bit more of like a cagey affair. It sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance that it's just an up and down game because that's just how, that's Klopp, that's Liverpool. Those games always tend to happen, or seem to happen a lot for Liverpool. But just with the way this Arteta team has been playing this season with Declan Rice in the midfield, it does seem like they're slowing down a lot of these games a little more.
Yeah, I sort of feel that. I mean, last season it was 2-2 at Anfield. I think they got a late equalizer via Firmino. But I mean, aside from that, like there's been, and then it was 3-2 at the Emirates. So it's like there was a couple goals, but then you even do a little bit more rewind, and there's, a little bit cagier as you kind of lean towards. But I think Arsenal will just have a better midfield here. Declan Rice is probably, maybe not him and Salah are probably, and Van Dijk probably the two best players on the pitch. Saka as well. So I don't know, that like in the middle of the park, they have the advantage for sure. I'll be interested to see how that plays out, but with like, is Declan Rice or Endo, I know who I'm taking there in that discussion. So yeah, interesting that I have written down here. I was not on the under. I was thinking both teams to score, no draw. That's plus 130. You can, both teams on the over 1.5 are plus. Liverpool's plus 105 and Arsenal's plus 120. If you're like, Adam, I think there's going to be a bit more goals than you think. So if you're listening to this and you're like, maybe I don't quite agree with that, there's that. But I don't know. You are right. I mean, less goals in some of the bigger matchups. What was the Man City game? It was
1-0 Arsenal.
Okay, 1-0, and then they just lost 1-0
to Aston Villa.
Yeah. I mean, the couple of little mini sample sizes there, but I don't know. I feel like Arsenal's going to come out and they're going to find the back of the net in the first 15 minutes. That's, by the way, that's minus 105. And then it's going to be just, maybe that's enough, but I feel like then the game will kind of turn on its head a little bit and we'll see a bit more back and forth match. But that's,
yeah. I mean, obviously if someone scores in the first 20 minutes, then my bet's probably not going to hit. So we'll see how the back lines work out here.
Trent will be pinched up in the midfield. Martinelli just gasses past Kanate, and then it's in the back of the net. And I don't know. That's how I envision this game starting.
That's definitely a worry. Martinelli on the side of the problem. I mean, teams have gone towards that left side there, so maybe they might go a little more to Martinelli early. And if they find something there, then it would not be surprising there. And I mean, I don't know. We haven't said this in a while, but just Liverpool just, being terrible the first 10, 20 minutes of a game. It hasn't happened in a while, but it was a case the first couple months of the season. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. This is a pretty big game. I think they're going to come out and not play, I don't know, stupid, play lazy kind of a thing. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Jurgen Klopp is a manager for a reason, but man, they got up. I've been itching for Joe Gomez at right back, and then Alexander Arnold just playing as the 6 for a while
Yeah,
now.
you said that last week too.
Yeah, I've been doing that. So Trent comes in on Wednesday against West Ham. Gomez stays out right, and Trent comes in 2 assists. They didn't. I guess they conceded one to a really beautiful Jared Bowen goal, but I'm telling you, that would be ideal situation there.
Yeah, he came on for Endo basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I feel like that could be a good version of what they have now.
Yeah, I mean, they already were dominating that match, so I don't want to be like, okay, once that happened, it was like,
Right. That's true.
blasters off kind of a thing. I mean, they were up 2 goals already, and I don't know, they finished with 29 shots to 2 shots, so
bit different of an opponent. So that's a fair shot.
Maybe the opposite opponent as well, because West Ham don't like having possession. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's true.
Next game we got a standalone Sunday Christmas Eve match here, which I feel like they could have put one of these other games in a standalone spot, but sorry, no shade to Wolverhampton and Chelsea here, but Wolverhampton are home against Chelsea. They're Chelsea are plus 100 to win. Again, just another game that hasn't seen a ton of odd line movement here, but I guess 12 days ago Chelsea were minus 130. Now that's plus 100. So I think it's just that was when the initial lines were coming out there. But Wolverhampton are plus 275. The draw is also plus 275. You got over 2.5 goals at minus 125, under 2.5 goals at plus 100. So I've already taken under 2.5 goals 2 times, and I almost was going to make it 3 for 3. And then I considered things a little bit. I considered Wolverhampton at home. I considered, a lot of Chelsea defensive struggles, and I don't want to do that one. So I'm off of that one. And this one was kind of tough just because Wolverhampton at home. I know you're gonna be on this Wolverhampton side here, but I was looking at some of these Wolverhampton results, and
pretty weak.
So the way they have successful results at home, it's just a team that, okay, they're getting goals on the counter. It's not like they're like, yeah, we're playing awesome at home and we're dominating things. It's just like, okay, we're just going to get goals on the counter, whether it's Hwang, whether it's Pedro Neto, who may be back on the bench for this game, maybe it's Sarabia kind of thing. So that's one worry I have with Wolverhampton here. So explain to me why Wolverhampton are a good bet here.
They haven't lost at home in 6 matches.
Okay.
You mentioned their style of play. This is the exact team that frustrates Chelsea. Like it seems like when the game opens up a bit, they're a bit better, but like they're unable to unpack teams that are really organized. I think that's the teams that they really struggle against. Like I said,
do you think Wolverhampton are really organized?
I mean, that's traditionally maybe not. Good question. Traditionally, yes. Maybe this season, definitely a little bit. They're still, it's not like they're like conceding a boatload of goals. I guess they've conceded.
I think they are
29 goals in 19 matches. That's about, what was that, eighth most in the league. So, okay. I mean, tied with Fulham, and then they're about mid-table in terms of goals conceded. So maybe not as impressive of what they've done in previous seasons, but at home, I guess they've given up slightly more probably. Yeah, they're top 6 most amount of goals given up. They're tied with 3 other teams at 13 goals in 8 matches. They've only scored 11 goals. So what I'm saying, I mean, I guess maybe not like the most organized team, but it's not like they're like a Sheffield United, or like a team like that.
That's harsh.
Sorry, I mean, catching strays for me early in the morning here. Sorry about that. But that said, I think the under here is really appealing too if you're not like me on Wolves double chances, which is my bet this match. I think they're going to be able to take a point away from Chelsea. I mentioned why they struggle. Wow. Okay. I also like. I mentioned this, but the under 2.5 is plus 100. That's interesting. There's a corners bet in here. I don't. I'm not as much of a soothsayer here to take a corners bet, but I kind of like an under. But yeah, I'm on Wolves double chance. I think at home, I mentioned how hard it is for away teams to win in the league. Chelsea traveling away. I think it'll be tough for them to take at least all 3 points, especially, Wolves just traditionally a side who can at least take a point off. I mean, they beat City at home. I got to look at some of their other results at home too. But I mean, 6 straight winless streak or unbeaten streak here at home. That kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, they have some good results at home, and also Chelsea have some bad results away from home. They've lost their last 3: Everton, Manchester United, Newcastle. So I'm just looking down the list of Chelsea away results.
Listen to this. This is pretty impressive. I guess they drew Nottingham. They beat Burnley. Neither of those particularly impressive for Wolves, but they beat Tottenham at home 2-1. They drew Newcastle 2-2. They drew
Tottenham game.
1-1.
They scored 2 stoppage time goals to beat Tottenham. One was like the Pablo Sarabia flick to himself or whatever he did.
It's not how. It's how many.
Yeah,
that's impressive. Yeah. Those are tough.
No, they're impressive. I just don't know how. I don't know how reliable it is, but I am on your bet because of Chelsea just haven't been as good away from home. They're a team that it only seems like in these home games where they have possession, they're getting corners. So I was originally looking at, Chelsea corners, because I don't think, Wolverhampton are great, coming off a 3-0 loss against West Ham where they just looked outmatched for probably the entire game kind of a thing. Maybe Pedro Neto comes off the bench and gives a little bit of a boost there. But again, hamstring injury, he's been out for more than a month right now. So I will side with your bet just because we don't know about Chelsea away from home, and because we don't know about Chelsea away from home, and we know that Wolverhampton can score pretty much against anyone at home, whether it's on the counter or whatnot. A lot of these games against higher end competition, if you want to consider Chelsea higher end competition, maybe you don't, but 4 goals against Liverpool, 5 goals. Goals scored total. 4 goals scored total against Liverpool, 5 goals in the Brighton match, 3 goals in the Man City match, 4 goals in the Newcastle match. Again, 3 with a couple in the stoppage time coming against Tottenham. So I think both these teams are going to score, and both teams to score. I think it was minus 180 or something like that. Odds weren't great. I may consider both teams to score no draw, but though that one is always tricky because I do think it's going to be 2-1 to either side here. So I may eventually look at both teams to score no draw, but over 2.5 goals, minus 120. I think we're looking at a 2-1, 2-2 kind of result here.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I mentioned the under 2.5 was plus 100. So I feel like I might be on a little bit different.
That was when you thought Wolverhampton were organized.
I still do. I didn't say that they weren't.
I don't know. 2 goals Nottingham Forest, 1 goal at Burnley. Like, those are just different teams. I just think, you throw in Cuckoo back here, he's probably going to get 20, 30 minutes off the bench for Chelsea. Reece James isn't there, but everyone, maybe Enzo Fernandez isn't healthy either. But I think their attack is actually out from, what happened the first couple months of the season when Nicholas Jackson was basically missing every good opportunity. They're actually scoring goals pretty much since Cole Palmer came into the lineup. Like, they've actually been scoring goals. And I'm just not sold on Wolverhampton, completely shutting out Chelsea here.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to get a clean sheet at home? Probably not. But I'm not out here putting faith in a new Chelsea forward signing like they're going to come in and score goals right away too. So that traditionally has been tough the past couple of years to see that. So I mean, Nkunku healthy is a nice addition, but I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like let's scored. It's the next coming of.
He scored on Tuesday.
But
scored on Tuesday. Got a PK.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to go a bit bigger sample size than one game.
One game of, I don't know how long you went, 20 minutes or something. And the PK was in the PK shootout. So there you go.
It was like, is there something I missed?
I should expand on that statement, but
fair.
We got the team parlay here, and we got a single game parlay. For the holidays, we got a
Oh,
single
okay.
game team parlay. We're talking this Fulham home against Burnley match. I actually have another yeah, it is a single game parlay in my betting article on this match. So from RotoWire, we're giving the people for this exciting Fulham Burnley match 2 single game parlays. So you got to check out that article, rotowire.com/soccer. But line movements here, Fulham were minus 180 2 weeks ago. Some reason that's gone steadily down to minus 145. Burnley, I guess Burnley have been steady plus 400 range. Burnley have been kind of bad last 2 home games for Fulham. 5-0, 5-0, and then they advanced in PKs past Everton on Tuesday in the EFL Cup. So a little bit of form, but of note, Raul Jimenez is suspended for this one. Rodrigo Munoz, I don't know how old he is, maybe 20 years old. He got the start in that Tuesday game. It could be him, or it could be Carlos Vinicius starting up front. How much does that matter here for Fulham, who are seemingly just arguably playing probably the best they've played. I don't know if I want to say the last 2 seasons, but when you have back-to-back 5-0 wins, it's I don't know if you can compare it to much.
Yeah, I mean, they were at one point last, I think it was maybe mid-season-ish. They were probably like top 7 or so. I think that I remember them having quite a good record, and they really trailed off towards the end of the season. So it's not like they're not used to like having a good run of form. But yeah, like back-to-back 5-0 wins, advancing to the League Cup semifinals. They're enjoying their football right now. So and then Burnley away. Burnley at home gives you a little bit of confidence. Burnley, despite I think Burnley's one of the worst defensive teams at home. They're a little, which is ironic
On the road.
No, I'm saying I know Burnley's on the road here. Leading to my next point, they're mid-table in terms of goals against away, so they've been giving up a ton of goals whether it's home or away, but they're actually better defensively away. Burnley is so. Take that for what it is. I will say Fulham is, I think they're probably, what are they, like top 7 here in terms of goals scored at home. They have 17 goals in 8 matches. Has 10 of those have come at home, or 10 of those have come in 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
With the 2 5-0 results. So take that. But those have come recently. So all that said, I think we're going to see it could, a 3-1 game, a 2-1 game wouldn't be surprising here. I'm taking the over 2.5. It's minus 120. Burnley, they have been slightly better defensively in the past 3 games, but not good enough to be like, okay, that's their identity now. So I like the goals here, and Fulham obviously are doing pretty well. So.
Yeah, I mean, some of these recent Burnley results are maybe worrying for the bet just because, okay,
Yeah.
2-0 loss against Everton, 1-1 at Brighton, 1-0 at Wolverhampton, beat Sheffield United 5-0, 2-1 against West Ham there. That was a home game. Maybe some worrying results, but I do think some has to go into this Fulham home form here. So they had that 1-0 home loss against Manchester United. I think that was an early morning one where it was raining a little bit. Manchester United got a late winner, but I think they had multiple opportunities to score there. But outside of that one, so they had 5 goals, 3 goals against Wolverhampton, 3 goals against Sheffield United. So the goals are coming. Coming home, Craven Cottage, Burnley are just in a weird spot, just in terms of Vincent Kompany and this team. We'll see how the holiday fixtures shake out for them. I'm not sure if it's going to be positive. There's not a ton of rotation to do for them. I know Lyle Foster just got back for him in the last game, so maybe that's going to give a little bit of a boost. But just with the way at Fulham are playing at home, we mentioned this with, I forgot who we mentioned this with, but Fulham. So it seems like they just like turned something on, or when they put Alex Iwobi into their lineup. So they signed Alex Iwobi from Everton, and once he got in the lineup, that kind of changed some things. Then he started maybe in a more defensive role. Then he moved to more of a winger role, and just as a winger who can play, who gets back defensively kind of thing, just runs all over the pitch kind of a thing. I think that helped a bunch. Also, Tom Kearney getting some recent starts also seemed to help a little bit. So I think just a couple tweaks that Marco Silva has made has resulted in a lot of these good performances. So I was initially on over 9.5 corners, but the odds weren't good enough. So I'm going kind of crazy here. Both teams in this game over 3.5 corners at plus 110. And then combine that with over 2.5 goals of -130. We got plus 240 odds for the single game parlay. So I just think that this game's, we got Fulham at home, but I think it's going to be a little up and down here. I think we're going to get up and down game on Saturday here, and that'll hopefully lead to corners. That's at least the goal here. This is a pretty big bet because you're asking both teams to get, at least 4 corners. Are you thinking, I mean, you're going over 2.5 goals here, but are you thinking up and down game, or are you thinking Fulham 3-0 win?
I'm thinking up and down game. Like I said, I think I mentioned 3-1 or 2-1 here. I do think Burnley can find the back of the net. In Fulham, of course, they have 13 goals at home in their last 3 matches, which is quite the number here. So yeah, I think we see like a 2-1, 3-1. I mean, yeah, I can't say much more than that.
Yeah, as long as Burnley just don't play, I don't know, super defensive here.
I guess I haven't I was watching a lot more Burnley in the beginning of the season. I haven't watched a full 90 of Burnley. I think aside from they played Liverpool recently, so that's kind of a different setup than they might have against a team like Fulham. But I mean the results say that they've been playing more defensively. But they're like calling card. The Vincent Kompany style is definitely a bit more attacking. That's how they got here. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless they're backing up to play more of like a Sean Dyche or like a Hodgson ball, where it's pack it in and play it like one up high and try to have like 4 or 5 two sets of 4 across. Then
I don't know if we're gonna get there, but maybe because I mean it was for what they had last season. It was like possession, build up, score kind of a thing with Burnley. I mean, I think they tried that early in the season. And it's just like when you're playing better competition with worse players, it's difficult to have possession. And when you lose possession, you allow goals. I think that's one of the things that Brighton is dealing with right now. I think I just saw a stat. They've played. This has nothing to do with this bet, but Brighton have played, I think, 100 appearances for teenagers in 2023. I think that's a record. So just a crazy thing I just saw across the Premier League timeline there. But game week 18 here, that is in the books, rotowire.com/soccer trial. I got the cheat sheet pulled up. You got anything else here before we get into some Christmas cookies?
No, just a beautiful set of a few days here for the sports viewing audience. We got a match today. We got a couple matches. We have 4 and 4, I believe, and then we do have that one game on Christmas. Other than that, we're both NFL guys, slightly. So we'll be watching a little bit of a lot of football here, both sides of the pond over the next couple of days. I'll be absolutely locked in. I'll be in the kitchen quite a bit. I'll be out pulling out of the cooler as well. So I'm back in the great state of Wisconsin, which is really a hotbed for some good beers too. So I'm looking forward to heading to the old beer shop and picking out a couple tasty ones that I normally wouldn't get. So that's exciting. And of course, maybe like a stout or a porter that goes well with a couple cookies too.
I don't know. Have I asked you if you're a big Spotted Cow fan before?
It's in the identity, I think. So maybe you don't have to be like a super fan, but that the Spotted Cow runs deep here. It flows.
If you're from Wisconsin, do you have to say it's a great beer?
I mean, it is a good beer for sure. I don't know if you have to say it's a great beer. It's for the audience, it's probably the biggest craft beer in Wisconsin. That's like definitely the highest produced beer. It's came up as it's a farmhouse ale, so it's like a really easy drinking beer that you can drink any time of the year. It's pretty commercialized now, but in its day, it was it came up as like the top beer. It's best in a bottle. They sell it in cans now, which I'm not as big of a fan. Really good on draft. But yeah, I'm a fan. It's not like when I come home, I'll have one. But it's not like my go-to. So, yeah.
There's the answer. There's the answer I was looking for. When I come back home after, living in Seattle, I usually don't buy one. Is the answer I was looking
for. I'll definitely get one at a bar as like a little, nod to the craft brewers here, but I usually move on. There's a lot of good ambers out here, a lot of good like kind of ales and porter stouts, stuff like that. So I usually, especially in winter, I'm mixing in a porter or stout.
All right, it's that time. We're doing top 3 Christmas cookies here. We have no graphic for it. I'm gonna try and actually whip something up here real quick. But all right,
Well,
Chris. So
we can
yeah, I
give
think
a prelude here
yeah, go
on
ahead.
the cookies. Well, you're whipping up a graphic. Best time of the year here. Maybe not the best time of the year for your waistline, but you have the opportunity to eat as many cookies as you want during this. I would say 7-day period from the 23rd, maybe even more, maybe 7 to 9 day period from the 23rd to the 1st, and the cookies don't count, from a calorie standpoint. So it's only right that, I think we ranked Thanksgiving food recently, and now we're back. We're going to give our top 3 Christmas cookies for the year. I say we start at 3 and then go down to 1. So we'll trade off here, Adam. So I'll give my first one. My first ranking number 3 in my Christmas cookie, and it has to be a cookie. It can't be like a bar or brownie or something like that. My number 3 is
a brownie. Who's giving brownies out on this
dude. We
show?
make some mint brownies here that are like unbelievable. That might be, if it was a holiday treat, that would rank.
Maybe
highly.
throw some red and green sprinkles on it and call it.
Yeah, it's exactly mint in the winter sounds great. Anyways, ranking number 3 for me is the classic Christmas cutout cookie, just the sugar cookie base with a little bit of frosting. You put a little sprinkles on it. You make a bunch. The family comes around. You kind of decorate them. Sometimes if you have, I've got a couple brothers, and oftentimes the shapes of the cookies become slightly phallic from time to time, but definitely a little bit of a good time to. It's the vibes of decorating Christmas cookies is great, and they taste great too. Go really good with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee.
Cup of tea. Number 3. I got. So I think this is a classic cookie. I think all the I don't know, cookie books, all the books that all the grandmas used to use in the 50s or whatever. I don't know. They probably got them in the mail or saw them at the grocery store or something. And there's always, there's cookie recipes and all those. And then they cut out those cookie recipes and they save those. At least, in my family, they cut out the recipes. They have their own book. Then they take some tape out, tape the recipes in a book kind of thing. And you got all your recipes there. And I think Tinglings is one of these classic cookies, which was created at some point in the 50s or 60s. It's like a butterscotch. It uses chow mein noodles, butterscotch cookies. It's like a no bake. Chris has never heard of this.
I don't even know what this is. I'm going to have to try this.
It does sound weird because it uses chow mein noodles, but there's also peanuts in it. But just if you're a butterscotch fan, I think these are must try Christmas cookies. Shouts to my aunt, the master baker, and shouts to my grandma, who and I guess shouts to my grandpa, who it used to be his favorite cookie as well. So just a tingling is my number 3.
Interesting. That is a classic Midwest aunt or grandma move to have like the cutout recipe and like this like hodgepodge kind of recipe book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess is that a Midwest thing? I don't know.
Maybe it's more than I don't know. But anyways, moving on to number 2 here, and this might cause a little controversy. But we make and I think it's considered a cookie, but I don't know for sure, and maybe you can tell me. Poor man turtles. This is my note. They're like a butterscotch pretzel, and then you put a Rolo on it, and then you put an almond or some sort of nut on top. They're like super easy to make. You can make like 1,000 of them, I swear, in like the matter of minutes. Very little buy-in. You don't have to like mix anything. You basically put the Rolo on the pretzel and then but I feel like those things, they're probably like, I don't know, 150 calories like per like 2.
I mean, we're talking about cookies here.
Yeah, we're talking about cookies. So, but like I could like pop like 15 of those suckers in 10 minutes, and they taste so good and they're super easy to make. So that's my number 2. A, because they're efficient, and B, because they taste amazing.
I'm not huge on nuts in my cookies, but I'll take a pecan bar here and there, and
Okay.
yeah, I'll take a turtle here and there as well. I'm a turtle fan. I won't deny caramel
Yeah,
and
caramel's amazing.
goodness. I'm
Yeah,
not going to deny sweets. So as long as there's Rolos attached to the pecan, like I'm not going to be complaining about it. So
fair.
number two, I talked about this last year. This is just like an all-time favorite probably, but we call them peanut butter balls over here, but they are the Buckeyes. You know, chocolate, peanut butter. You can't really do wrong with that. So I know you've had those before. These are probably one of the more popular ones. People, we just don't call them Buckeyes in Michigan is kind of a rule.
Yeah. Yeah, we call them. Yeah, I think Buckeyes here for sure. There's a couple sitting in the Tupperware in the kitchen right now. I haven't had one yet. They're not usually my go-to, but I'm familiar with. It's like essentially like peanut butter covered in chocolate.
Yeah, you
Pretty
mean
pretty
you,
solid. Pretty
yeah.
solid choice. A classic mixture. I'm on the theme of peanut butter and chocolate. I'm gonna just get right into my number one, and that's peanut butter blossoms. It's a classic. It's like a peanut butter cookie that you make, and then you just put a Hershey Kiss in the middle. You've probably seen them around, but those also, you roll them. You get the dough together, you roll them up, get them a little sugar. You can put some red and green sprinkles in them. Pop them in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Take them out. Put the little Hershey Kiss in there. Take them back out, and those things are probably my number one. Peanut butter chocolate. It's tough to overlook how good of a combination that is.
Yeah, I think this. As I said, the peanut butter ball was my top last year. I'm pretty sure we talked about this one last year, so it's good to see that your favorite cookie isn't changing.
Sticking to party lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one is probably, I mentioned the Tinglings thing. That the peanut butter blossom is probably one of those cookies that's been around since the 50s as well. It just seems like, in classic cookies, you put a thing together, you put the Hershey Kiss in the middle, and like it feels like that's something that's been around for 80 years or something like that. I don't
since
know
you
when.
know since Bethlehem.
Maybe the 1600s. Maybe I'm lowballing this one a little
Yeah, I don't
bit.
know.
Um, Here we go. I'm just getting this graphic up here. So my number one. We're both 3-0 on these, by the way. So this is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a new. This is kind of a
Yeah.
newcomer here.
Plus 200 odds too. So
This is a bit of a newcomer because my aunt started making this. So my family, we get together for the holidays. My aunt and we do. Everyone brings Christmas cookies. We have like 20 different varieties that we have over the course of a week, and you pick your favorites out. You rate them a little bit. Maybe you'll have a ranking at the end of the week, kind of a thing. So this one, this isn't the chocolate peanut butter that automatically sounds good. So this is a ginger molasses cookie, and it's frosted. Um, so it's basically, it doesn't sound as good as what I'll say than some of these other ones, but as long as you're not like opposed to ginger, it's not ginger heavy, but you combine ginger, you combine molasses into chewy goodness, and then you dip it into white chocolate. That has become one of my favorites here over probably the last 5 years. If you haven't tried this, I think you got to try it. I mean, there's no chocolate here, molasses, chocolate, kind of close enough a little bit there. So frosted ginger molasses there. Have you
nice.
had one of these
Wow. I
before?
I I appreciate your the breadth and width of your cookies here. Like you went you dug a little deeper. I feel like I need to expand what I've been eating of a cookie. Like these are the same. You know,
Well, I was saying, we get 20 plus cookies to choose from, probably more from the in-laws. My mother-in-law also makes a bunch of cookies as well, so I got a bunch of choices here to where maybe your family's not as cookie heavy as my family. I probably try about 30 kinds of cookies every Christmas.
I love that. I gotta get that going on in my family. We go with the classics that we've had for like 25 years.
You got to just slowly incorporate a new one here and there.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
got to do.
absolutely.
That's what that's what you gotta do. You said you're gonna be in the kitchen. Just
I am.
check
I'm
out
gonna
these ginger molasses ones and try it and get these going.
a much better cook than I am baker. So, but maybe I'll put those in my locker here and start to develop that.
No better time to start than now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right, that was it for our betting show and a 10-minute discussion on Christmas cookies. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays to Chris. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on wherever, rotowire.com/soccer. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, RotoWire Soccer. Chris, we'll see everyone in the new year. We're going to try and get bets out to people. You're going to have to follow RotoWire Soccer on Twitter. If we get those bets out, they will be on Twitter. We're not going to be doing videos. It's too many things are going on. Too much traveling's going on. So we're giving ourselves a break from the show. But we're going to still have bets either way. So how about that? We'll still have bets. I'll message Chris 7 a.m. on Christmas Day being like, where are your Boxing Day bets? Let's go. We need these for the people.
I'll have a porter going.
7 a.m. for me, 6 a.m. for you. Chris will be up with the porter. So there you go.
Coffee stout.
There you go. Chris, thanks for joining me. Happy holidays, everyone. We'll see everyone in 2024.
Thanks, Adam.